So when we gathered at the end of 2019, everyone is a very celebratory mood. We've passed over 60 pieces of legislation, and we were really looking at a positive trajectory for women in New York. And we all know what came after that. It's been a painful and an eventful year. It's been the most consequential election year that we all know of. There's been a national reckoning on race, and of course, a pandemic, and that's all in 2020. So we have all really dealt with so much stress, and it's been such a challenging period. But for some of us, the loss and the challenge has really been some of the losses have been unimaginable to those who have not suffered them. And many of those folks were women, and particularly women of color. And we already had known that things were difficult for many women in New York and been working to advance that. To kick off our conversation about the challenges that women face in New York going into 2021, could not have a better person to join us, and that is our Attorney General, Letitia James. Attorney General Tish James, as we call her, is the 67th Attorney General for New York State. She is the first woman of color to hold a statewide office and the first woman to be Attorney General. But we knew her when she was a New York City council member. And when she stood up at a hearing and said, why can't we do that about equal pay? We worked with her for many years. And when she became the public advocate, she pushed and passed groundbreaking legislation. It was the salary history ban, and it rippled across the United States. That law really shook things up. But that's what Attorney General Letitia James does. And that's why we're so happy to have her here with us today to speak to us. Do we have Attorney General James on the line? Is find her. Terrific.
Thank you,
Great.
Bev, for that warm and kind introduction. And it's great to see all of you, even virtually. At a time when we are socially isolated, it's good that we get together from time to time and just talk about issues that concern all of us, and give a toast to all that we've had to deal with over this past year. But recognizing that we've got to hold on to our hope, knowing that this too shall pass and that we will soon be together again. And Bev, it's been a long time since I've seen you, and so it's an honor and a privilege to see you and your PowHer team. And of course, I'd like to acknowledge my colleagues in government, Assembly Member Michelle Solage and Assemblywoman Ellen Jaffe and Assemblywoman Arabella Simotis. And I want to thank them for their tireless work in the New York legislature and in their communities to make economic equality more possible for individuals and families in New York. Over the past year, our country and the world have been challenged dramatically, and the gaping holes in the economic makeup of our society have been laid bare, and those inefficiencies that held societies together by a thread have basically unraveled, and we now face a rude awakening. The way I see it, this new awakening gives us a fresh opportunity to think about what our world would look like if we truly led from a place of humanity, a place of equality, and a real justice for all. 10 million women and their families live in the epicenter of this pandemic. COVID-19, as we all know, does not discriminate. And people all across socioeconomic lines, across all races and genders and ethnicities, we all experience extreme loss somewhere in our lives. This past week, lost a very close friend. I lost my neighbor. I lost a number of members of my church. We need a way out. And the only way out of this is straight through and together as one, recognizing that we're all in this together, which is why I commend PowHer and for the vision you have put forward for all New Yorkers and beyond in the road map ahead of us. We are taking steps as a nation towards a better future. It has come at a heavy price, but we must not squander this opportunity. And this opportunity presents some challenges for all of us. How we will recover will dictate the future for generations to come. Women and communities of color face the highest hurdles, as Bev indicated, in the gender pay gap combined with unemployment, underemployment, and the expectations of women in the household have all become magnified under the eye of the pandemic. According to the New York Times, the parts of the economy that shut down first, restaurants and retail and healthcare, all dominated by us, women. And this is the first time that we see entire industries dominated by women getting wiped out and kickstarting a global recession. And when women are out of work, we know that families suffer and children suffer and our economy. The struggle, my friends, is real. The shift to close child care centers and switch to remote learning has given us much to think about. And we all know that in some communities, learning at home for these children, learning remotely, a lot of children, particularly children in urban centers and in rural counties, they don't have access to the internet. They don't have the hardware. They don't have the software. And so they've lost a year of learning. And the question is, who supervises children during that at-home schooling? Who helps them with their homework? Who helps them with their schoolwork? Who prepares lunch? Who has to split their time between virtual meetings, work, and school? Who even has the luxury to work from home during this time? We also bear the burden of being unpaid caregivers. And who is taking care of those who fall victim to COVID-19? And yes, my sisters, who even buries our loved ones and makes the preparations? Inequality in the home will more likely than not cause inequality in the workplace. If this situation continues, we will see women either leave the workplace in droves or continue in an economy in which their future earnings and potential have been damaged. And these are just some of the ways in which we stand to see setbacks after a time of progress. Today, I've been dealing with the significant number of evictions that we're going to face and foreclosures. And so in this roadmap that you have so thoughtfully put together, I see hope. You see, I wake up every day, every single day, no matter what I have to face, drunk on hope. Hope. Hope gets me through the day, and hope gets me through the night. And we must see the big picture in order to instill change in all the ways that are necessary and to lift up the spirits of the countless number of individuals right now who are wondering how they're going to pay their rent and pay their mortgage and put food on the table. In New York, we've got laws that protect against gender discrimination and sexual harassment and pay disparities, including our groundbreaking law to ban salary history, which we did together, all of us, we did it together. And my office has been committed to enforcing them and making sure that everyone feels safe, empowered, and valued at home. And we also must extend the hand to all of those women who right now are living with their batterer, who are suffering from sexual and domestic abuse. In the coming years, because this recovery will in fact take time, your advocacy in this area, in a wide range of areas, will be key to seeing the desired change. We are currently at a crossroads. We can either take the pressure, my friends, or collapse. But we don't have, unfortunately, we just can't collapse. We don't have the unfortunate ability to collapse because too much is on our shoulders. So we take this momentum and drive home the needs that harsh times have highlighted for women and for people of color in this country and all throughout history. Instead of buckling under pressure, we must push for a workforce that recognizes the humanity in their employees, affordable childcare and paid parental and sick leave, real maternity leave, equitable distribution of household responsibilities between spouses. All of these policies address the human inside of us. Working families were already struggling to find a balance between their jobs and raising children. And unfortunately, as women, we can't put up boundaries. We work around the clock, 24 hours, 7 days a week, because so many people depend on us. New York and the world at large must enact more family-friendly policies so that we can help close the gender pay gap and ensure financial and career stability for those who choose to raise our future generations. This is an opportunity to right the wrongs. The pandemic has broken many of us in so many ways. Our spirits have been broken, but we can't afford right now to fall down. And so when the dust settles, we need to be ready to address the issues head on with all stakeholders and decision makers at the table, and with PowHer at the table, and with Bev leading the way. I don't know about you, but history is on her side, and history is on the side of all of you on this call. I thank you for having me, and I look forward to continuing these discussions. Thank you so much.
Bev, you're muted.
Thank you. I just want to thank you so much for being with us today, for helping us end a really difficult year, but also really inspiring us for what are we all going to do about this, and how are we all going to work together to make sure that those people who have suffered the most get the most. And those are women, and you've always been there fighting for women. If anyone ever says to anyone on this call again, does it matter to have a woman in office? Does it matter to have women's leadership? You just heard it, everybody. We heard it from you, and we always do. We always hear the truth from you and the passion. Thank you for being with us. I know that you have to leave. We would love to sit and talk with you, but we are really glad that you had some time to be with us today. And it's a game changer to have Letitia James as our Attorney General. And we know that we have a partner in the fight for gender and racial equality in New York. And we're here whenever you want us. And thank you for being available for us today. Thank you.
Thank you, Bev. Let us not leave anyone behind. Happy holidays, everyone. Happy Hanukkah.
Thank you. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Well, so that's, the Attorney General spoke about the roadmap, and in a few minutes, Rye Walker, our program and digital associate, is going to tell everybody a little bit more, but it's really what we've done this year. The pandemic just took us all by surprise, and we said, as a collective, PowHer is a network of over 100 organizations, and we said, what are we going to do? And we just started working together in a way we never had before to really amp up our efforts to create a collective response, because we know when we do things individually, that's great, but if we can do them together, that can be, really change the story. So I'm going to have Rye take over and tell everybody a little bit about the roadmap to inclusive gender justice, and also the vision that together about 50 organizations and more put together this vision for a paradigm shift. And without that paradigm shift, we cannot change the world to be an anti-racist, gender-focused environment for people to live and thrive. So Rai, please tell us a little bit more about the roadmap. And then we're going to turn to Assembly Member Szilagyi and Blue Carriger to kind of talk about how do we get there.